Could you guys speak to the type of programs you'd like to design? So what type of TV? Are we doing romances? Are we doing sci-fi? Like, just fill me in on what you like to enjoy and what you want to make so that I know what to look out for.
Yeah, I honestly would like to tackle all genres, especially with the representation of how I would like for it to show that we can be in space. I'm a stickler for romance. So I definitely would love to tackle that, but any genre, infusing them as well. Honestly, I just want to see more.
It's more of us. Love it.
Yeah, I am a comedy girl. I love half-hour comedies, scripted comedies. Just like she said, I want to make people laugh. I want to show a Black experience that we haven't seen before. I make a point to not delve too far into Black trauma. I want, my work to kind of reflect Ice Cube's, like, we had a good day. Black people have good days sometimes. Like, let's just laugh at that.
I love that.
Same. That warms my heart.
I'm tired of trauma. I just want to laugh at somebody doing something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not always raining. We can enjoy the sun as well, and I think that's fantastic. And those are the type of shows that I like to watch as well, where we can just be. That the trauma is not the story. We can fall in love without hard trauma. I think that's something so valuable to see. In 10 years, so in 10 years, what does your career look like? What's your office look like? What are you doing?
That's interesting to say because, I'm a planner. I love to plan. But when it comes to entertainment, none of your plans ever really work out. So I have like an offshoot of plans to go different places. Ideally, I would be a high-level EP on my own show. I do think that it's important to spend some time under someone who is really a little more senior to get the necessary footing to really do what you want to do. But ideally, I would have a show, a half-hour sitcom on a network like NBC or a streaming service. I hope Corona's going so I don't have to be at home in 10 years.
Girl, same.
So true.
Maybe in 10 years, hopefully I have a couple of awards. And I also would like to be teaching a class, both at like a university and also just where I came from, because I feel like there's not enough access to arts there. So I really just want to give everyone from my hometown a platform to really learn the craft and explore it if they want to.
That's fantastic. Real quick before we jump to you, Connye, to answer that question, I did want to ask, you mentioned working under someone. Is there somebody in particular whose career you'd really admire that you'd like to work under?
Honestly, I really love Yvette Lee Bowser. She created Living Single, and she's kind of doing the same thing already now because she was just showrunner on Dear White People. So Justin Simeon, it was his show, but he really, I think, got the freedom to really learn how to really work the system to get what he needed because she's just so experienced.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. One, she's amazing. Two, I mean, all the points that you made. Connye, why don't you tell us where are you going to be in 10 years? Where can we find you?
Oh, honestly, for career, I definitely would love to kind of just be in a room, sitting back, possibly just looking at certain shows that I helped create, whether that be I am on set every day, directing or producing. I don't mind allowing others to do that, even though that is a strong desire. But I definitely just want to make sure that I'm giving room for others. So ultimately, if I could just have multiple shows, kind of just, I guess allowing people to have jobs. Honestly, that's really more what I'm looking at, keeping people employed. So as far as films, that's really where I probably will take more of wanting to be out there, actually on set, doing things. I think about Jerry Buckhammer and even you mentioning Yvette Lee Browser. She's a top person for me. Gina Price Bythewood. And just
Can I
if
also
it's,
add Mara Brock Akil to the list?
yes, love her too. Love her too. And I love sometimes where they may have, especially like Yvette, she has projects that were, growth in the 90s and she's still doing things. So you don't have to have so much under your plate every decade. And I saw an interview of Gina speaking on that because she's only had 5 features in 20 years. So I just kind of think about it in that aspect. As long as there's something being done within the 10-year gap, I'm fine with. But I don't necessarily want to put a number on it. But I also would like to have a family. I'm going to be honest.
Me
So
too.
that is probably you too.
Same. Yeah, we can't forget that. That's a part of life too.
We can't forget it. So I do know that's one of the reasons why I don't mind like taking a step back and allowing others to kind of navigate.
I can appreciate that. I definitely can. I'm very glad that you brought it up. We got to say that too. That's something that we want. What about any careers that you, or anyone that you look up to? That same question that we posed to Jai. Like,
Mara Brock Akil, definitely. I think she, along with Unetta T. Boone, in the 90s, they had a lot of sitcoms coming on TV. And, they had Moesha and the Hughleys and Living Single. And these were shows that I got to see and think, I could do that. Like, I really could do that. And I've actually met a couple of them. And, I've contained my fangirliness, but, I really have to tell them. And I think that it's a privilege to even tell them in person that, I'm here because of you. The work that you did really inspired me to chase this dream. And I even got to fulfill one of my one of my favorite shows that it got canceled on a cliffhanger that Yvette Bowser did, called Half and Half. And I had to ask her, I was like, what was the cliffhanger? Please tell me. And she told me, and it was like 15 years of just hanging on the ledge, like, please tell me. And she told me, she whispered it in my ear. And now I go home and my family thinks I'm just like, I know everyone. They're like, oh, Jai knows what happened at the end of Half and Half.
I love that.
Same. That's amazing. I want to run into all of my favorite show creators now that left me on cliffhangers and be like, so this is something you could do, right? You could tell me the answer. What happened?
For some reason, in the 90s, all the Black shows got canceled on a cliffhanger, and you just never knew what happened to them after that.
100%.
Wow, you are so right. So right.
And can you both tell me what are some skills that are most helpful for someone working in each of your positions now?
I think being personable, having a good personality is very important because, like we said earlier, you can have all the skills in the world, but if no one wants to be around you, they will not hire you because you spend a lot of time with people that you work with, sometimes more than your own family. So you want to be someone where they're like, look, I'm going to be doing a 12-hour, 14-hour shift, and, this other person with me is not going to drain me even more than I will be from just the physicality of the work.
Mm-hmm, just the demands, yeah. Connye, how about for your role?
I definitely think effective communication. You just want to be transparent and very vocal about what you want to do because just like we spoke on earlier, I believe it's just sometimes you can get set in a position and there's no growth there. So having a strong desire and just making sure you communicate that effectively, I think it's a great skill to have. You need to go around. I know sometimes you don't want to be in the way and you think you may annoy people, but it is great to chat. They actually do not mind it at all, at least from my experience, I've noticed. So definitely just communicating your desires.
I think one thing I also learned really early on is no one's perfect. You will make a mistake. And the way that they will measure it is if you make a mistake, admit it and try to find a solution.
Yeah.
I love that. That actually answered my next question as far as advice you have for folks. But I do have another. You both started your career outside of New York or LA. What advice could you give to someone who's in a similar boat trying to make that jump?
Ooh, I should have made the jump a long time ago. I had multiple opportunities, but I was a little hesitant because it's so far. Honestly, I hadn't been away from home and I was comfortable. However, being comfortable is different than I guess what I'm trying to say is as being comfortable is great, but then you'll start having regrets the older you get, and you'll start noticing that even though you're kind of moving along with family and friends who truly love you, but they're also supportive of you if you do decide to leave. And that's what my case was. My parents are really just trying to go ahead and get me on out of the nest. And so I appreciate that. So I definitely think that if it is something that where it may tie into fear or just really just being content and not really wanting to leave the nest, I understand, but your desires and your goals will outweigh that eventually. And you do not want to regret it the older you get. So make the jump and you'll be surprised. There's so many transplants that are living among you in these big cities. So we all sometimes come together as a wonderful community, which I have found, thankfully. And I feel like even now, meeting you all, I will be able to kind of have a friendship with you, both of you. So I'm very grateful of that. So I just think just taking that leap, you have to do it.
Yeah, I think I was lucky enough that I'm from New Orleans. I went to school in New Orleans. At that time, in the early, like from 2009 to 2013, there were, like, they started calling New Orleans Hollywood South. They started building a lot of studios and a lot of shows started coming here. And my real conundrum was, after working in New Orleans all this time with all these people that were from LA, they decided not to go back. So when I did make the leap to eventually move into LA, I had no contact, and I had to start over. But I think that I was just really lucky and fortunate in that time because I had many advantages. Started out in a place that I knew. I had resources that if I needed something, there were times when we had to reach out to a local contact that did not have booking information and no one knew how to get in contact with. But I said, let me ask my friend to ask his mama to get their number because they know his cousin's sister. And I was able to get that person. So, but making the leap to LA, I came right after college in that Disney college program. It was very scary because I didn't have anyone. I was fortunate enough that my roommate at the time, my roommate who was still my roommate, she also moved from New Orleans to do the program. So after that, we kind of just stuck together and grinded it out.
May I ask, is this the program where you work at the theme park?
Yep, I was a PhotoPass photographer, and I have stories for days.
So I actually turned that down. That's another opportunity that I had.
Yeah, it was tough because you're out there. I'm out there carrying like 40 pounds of photography equipment. I'm sweating. The experience was fun because since I was working with characters, I got to see what it was like on stage versus off. Like, you're taking pictures of Cinderella, but behind the scenes, she's doing her geometry homework. And the characters are like taking their heads off and they're like, man, I can't believe that kid puked on me.
Oh, wow. My cousin completed it, so he had a great experience. And that may have been one of the regrets that I had, honestly.
But I would say it's also easy to get stuck there, too. People start to get comfortable in the jobs. And since it's in Anaheim, you really have to say, okay, I am going to leave Anaheim and I'm going to work on what I want to work on. Because if you get stuck there,
yeah,
it's just comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the overall theme, right? Like of just generally this question and moving and working in this space of working in entertainment is not having regrets, actually like doing the thing that you're scared of. Maybe if that means leaving, like leaving your home or leaving your family, really, really pushing and going after the thing that's been in your heart for a long time. I want to commend both of you folks on doing that, taking that leap and just jumping in both feet to create, right? And for the promise of creating for today and tomorrow. And on that note, I want to say we are close to wrapping up here. So I want to give you guys a space to drop your socials so that anybody who's watching this and also for you guys to connect, if you want to give us your socials so that we can share that with everyone.
You can find me on LinkedIn at Jai Joseph. I think that it's like /Jai Joseph 1990. You can find me on Instagram at written by Jai, Jai, and on Twitter at Mrs. Gilbert Wayne. Like Whitley from A Different World, Mrs. Gilbert Wayne.
Girl, I got it as soon as you said it. I was like, yes.
I love it. For me, Facebook, Connye Garrett, Connye instead of the I, Garrett with 2 R's and 2 T's. And same with, LinkedIn. And then Instagram, and I'm going to change it, but for now it's CA Garrett Productions.
Get you with your title. I love it. I love it. CA Productions. I'm so about it. I want to thank you both so much for giving us this time, sharing your knowledge, and just being able to connect with our community as we're building the space for other entry-level creatives to learn from you guys. You guys are the ones who are doing it, and we are so excited to be able to share that with you, or share your experiences with them. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed it.